Cathara floated in the cold darkness of her broken ship. The medical transport Mercy's Whisper had been her home for 3 years. Now it was her coffin. 3 days ago, the Drakari raiders had come out of nowhere. They appeared on her sensors like ghosts, their black ships cutting through the void with terrible speed. Cathara had tried to run. She had sent distress signals. She had begged for mercy when they boarded. They gave her none. The raiders killed her crew first. Dr. Yeth died trying to protect the medical supplies. Navigator Moth fell at his station, his hands still reaching for controls that would never respond. Engineer Saw fought back with a plasma torch and took 2 raiders with her before they shot her down. Cathara survived only because she hid. She crawled into a maintenance shaft and pressed herself against the cold metal, listening to the screams of her friends. She stayed there for hours, shaking, her bioluminescent skin flickering with terror dot. When silence finally came, she crawled out to find herself alone. The raiders had taken everything valuable. The medicine, the equipment, the fuel cells. They had ripped out the navigation array and destroyed the engine core. Then they left, laughing over their communication channels about the easy prey they had found. They did not bother to kill her. That would have been too kind. Instead, they left her to drift in the Varith expanse, knowing that death would come slowly, knowing that no one would save her. The Varith expanse was the most dangerous region of known space. It sat at the edge of Confederacy territory, far from any patrol routes or trade lanes. Pirates and raiders made their homes here. Salvagers picked through the remains of dead ships. No government sent rescue vessels into the expanse. The math simply did not work. Why risk a ship and crew for someone who was probably already dead? Cathara understood this. Her people, the Ovari, were scholars and healers. They dealt in logic and probability. She knew that the chance of rescue was less than 1%. She knew that her government had likely already marked her as lost. She knew that crying and hoping would change nothing, but she cried anyway. And she hoped anyway, because she was alive, and the living cannot help but want to stay that way. On the first day, she tried to repair the communication system. She managed to get the emergency beacon working, a small victory that made her skin glow bright with hope. She sent out distress calls on every frequency she could reach. No one answered. On the second day, she rationed her food and water. She calculated how long she could survive. The numbers were not good. Life support was failing. The air recyclers were damaged. She had maybe 20 hours of breathable atmosphere left. She spent that day talking to the bodies of her crew. She told them she was sorry. She told them she wished she had been braver. She told them about her family back home, about her sister's children who would grow up never knowing their aunt. On the third day, Cathara accepted that she was going to die. The acceptance brought a strange peace. She stopped crying. She stopped shaking. Her bioluminescent skin, which had been flickering wildly with fear and hope and despair, finally settled into a dim, steady glow. This was what her people looked like when they had given up. When the light inside them began to fade, she sat in the pilot's chair and looked out at the stars. They were beautiful, she realized. Cold and distant and completely uncaring, but beautiful all the same. Billions of lights scattered across the endless dark. Each one a sun. Each sun perhaps warming worlds full of life. And here she was, one tiny creature, invisible against the vastness of it all. The oxygen meter showed 16 hours remaining. Then 15. Then 14. Cathara decided to send one last message. Not because she believed anyone would hear it. Not because she had any hope left. She simply did not want to die in silence. She wanted her voice to travel out into the void, even if no one ever found it. She wanted the universe to know that she had existed, that she had lived and loved and tried her best, She activated the emergency beacon and began to speak. This is medical transport, Mercy's whisper. Crew deceased. Life support critical. I am alone. Her voice was steady. She was proud of that. If anyone hears this, please. My name is Kethara. I am a healer from the Ilvari homeworld. I came to the outer colonies to help the sick. I did not want trouble. I just wanted to help people. She paused, watching the stars. I am not ready to die, but I think I am going to. If you find this message, please tell my family that I thought of them at the end. Tell my sister to raise her children to be kind. Tell my mother that I was not afraid. That last part was a lie. She was terrified. But it was a good lie, and she hoped her mother would believe it. If anyone hears this, please. She let the message repeat. The beacon would broadcast it on all frequencies, over and over, until the power finally died. Her voice would echo through the darkness long after she stopped breathing. Kethara leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. She thought about home. She thought about the warm light of her world's twin suns. She thought about her mother's cooking and her sister's laugh and the way the ocean looked at. Sunset. The oxygen meter dropped to 13 hours. She did not expect an answer. The expanse was silent. The Confederacy was far away. Her people had no warships, no rescue fleets, no one who would come for her. But somewhere out in the darkness, her message traveled. It crossed empty space at the speed of light. It passed dead moons and frozen asteroids. It slipped through the gaps between stars. And somewhere, on a frequency that Kethara had included almost as an afterthought, her words reached a ship that did not care about math or probability, or acceptable losses. Her words reached humans. And humans. As the galaxy was slowly learning, played by different rules. The bridge of the UN, Adamantin, was busy with the quiet hum of routine work. Officers sat at their stations, monitoring sensors and running system checks. The destroyer had been patrolling the edge of the Verith expanse for 3 weeks now, a thankless job that most crews hated. Commander Elena Vasquez did not mind. She had served in worse places. She had fought in worse battles. A boring patrol meant her people were safe, and that was enough for her. She was reviewing supply reports when the communications officer spoke up. Commander, we're picking up a distress signal. Vasquez looked up. Origin? Deep in the expanse, ma'am. About 4 hours at maximum speed. The tactical officer, a large man named Torres, shook his head. That's well outside our patrol zone. Way outside. Could be a trap. Raiders use fake distress calls to lure ships in. He was right. It was a common trick. Send out a cry for help. Wait for some fool to come running. Then strip their ship for parts and sell the crew as slaves. The smart move was to ignore it. The safe move was to stay on course and pretend they never heard anything. Vasquez walked to the communication station. Play it? The officer pressed a button and a voice filled the bridge. It was soft and tired and full of quiet pain. This is medical transport Mercy's whisper. Crew deceased. Life support critical. I am alone. If anyone hears this, please. My name is Kethara. I am a healer from the Ilvari homeworld. The bridge went silent. Everyone listened as the message continued. The voice spoke of family and kindness and not being ready to die. It was not the voice of a trap. It was the voice of someone who had given up hope but could not stop reaching out anyway. When the message ended, no one spoke for a long moment. Torres cleared his throat. Could still be fake. The raiders are clever. They could have recorded an Ilvari and it's not fake, Vasquez said quietly. Ma'am, we can't know that for certain. And even if it's real, we're looking at a 4-hour journey into hostile territory for one person. The math doesn't. I know the math. Vasquez's voice was calm but firm. I also know that someone is out there dying alone, and she called for help. The navigator, a young woman named Chun, turned in her seat. Commander. Standing orders say we're not supposed to leave our patrol zone without authorization from Fleet Command. Then we'll ask for forgiveness later. Vasquez returned to her command chair and sat down. Set a course for the signal's origin. Maximum speed. Chun hesitated for just a moment. Then she nodded and began entering the coordinates. Course laid in, Commander. All hands, this is the Commander. Vasquez spoke into the ship-wide channel. We've received a distress call from deep in the expanse. We're going in. I want everyone at battle stations. We may encounter hostiles. Prepare for possible combat rescue. The ship came alive around her. Crew members rushed to their posts. Weapon systems hummed as they charged. The engines roared louder as the adamantine turned toward the darkness. Torres moved to stand beside Vasquez's chair. He spoke quietly so only she could hear. Elena, you know what command will say. One Ovari healer is not worth risking a destroyer and 80 crew members. If we lose people on this, then I'll answer for it. Vasquez met his eyes. But I'm not going to sit here and listen to someone die because the numbers don't add up. That's not why I joined the Navy, and that's not who we are. Torres studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I'll make sure the Marines are ready for a boarding action. Thank you, Miguel. He walked away, and Vasquez turned back to the stars rushing past the viewport. 4 hours. That was a long time when someone only had 12 hours of air left. She hoped they would make it. She hoped the voice on that recording was still alive, far away. Drifting in her broken ship, Kethara had fallen into a half-sleep. Her body was conserving energy, slowing down as the oxygen grew thin. She dreamed of home. She dreamed of sunlight and warm water and her sister's voice calling her name. The beep of her communication console woke her at first. She thought she had imagined it. Her mind was foggy, and she had been dreaming so vividly. But then she heard it again. A steady rhythmic beep that meant someone was trying to contact her. She pulled herself upright and stared at the console. That was impossible. No one answered distress calls in the expanse. No one came this far into the darkness for a stranger. With trembling fingers, she opened the channel. Static filled the air. Then a voice, strong and warm and completely foreign. Mercy's whisper. This is the UN Adamantine, Terran Navy destroyer class. We have your beacon. Hold tight. We're coming to get you. Kethara's heart stopped. Both of them. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. The Terrans. The humans. She had heard stories about them. Everyone had. They were the newcomers to the galactic community, a young species that had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel barely a century ago. They were strange and unpredictable and emotional. Other species whispered about them in confusion and sometimes fear, but no one had ever told her that they answered distress calls in the Varath expanse. I hear you, she managed to say. Her voice cracked. Is this real? Are you really coming? We're already on our way, the voice replied. My name is Commander Elena Vasquez. I need you to tell me your current status. How much air do you have left? Are you injured? 12 hours. Maybe less. Kethara's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold herself steady. I am not badly injured. Some cuts, some bruises. But my crew is dead. I'm sorry. The commander's voice softened. We'll be there in just under 4 hours. Can you hold on that long? Yes, I can hold on. Kethara felt something she had not felt in days. Hope. Real, burning, impossible hope. Her skin began to glow brighter, the bioluminescence responding to her emotions. Good. Stay on this channel. We'll keep you company until we arrive. Kethara laughed. It was a wet, broken sound, but it was a laugh. Why? Why are you doing this? Your people have no treaty with the Ilvari. We have nothing to offer you. You gain nothing from saving me. There was a pause. When the commander spoke again, she sounded almost confused by the question. Because you called for help. That's reason enough. Cathara did not know what to say. In her experience, no one did anything without a reason. The Confederacy operated on careful calculations of cost and benefit. Lives were weighed against resources. Everything had a price, but these humans seemed to operate on a different logic entirely. A logic she did not understand. "Thank you," she whispered. It was not enough. The words felt too small for what she was feeling, but they were all she had. "Thank us when you're safe on our ship," Commander Vasquez replied. "Now tell me about yourself, Cathara. Tell me about your home. We have a long journey ahead, and I want to hear your story." So Cathara talked. She told the human commander about her world and her family and her dreams. She talked about becoming a healer, about wanting to help people, about the day she left home to bring medicine to the outer colonies dotted across the void. A human warship raced through the darkness to save a stranger, because she had called for help, because that was reason enough. The adamantine dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Cathara saw it through her viewport and gasped. She had never seen a human ship before. She was not prepared for how it looked. It was not beautiful. Ilvari ships were graceful things, all smooth curves and soft colors. Confederacy vessels were elegant and precise, designed to impress. But the adamantine was none of those things. It was brutal. It was scarred. It was a thing of hard angles and heavy armor, covered with weapons that pointed in every direction. It looked like a creature that had been in many fights and won all of them. Mercy's whisper. "We have visual on your position." Commander Vasquez's voice came through the speaker. "How are you holding up?" "I am here," Cathara replied. Her voice was weak. The air was very thin now. "I am still here." "Good. We're moving to dock with you now. Just a few more minutes." Cathara watched the human ship grow larger in her viewport. It moved with surprising speed for something so massive. Behind it, the stars stretched on forever, cold and empty. Then something changed. 3 new contacts appeared on what remained of her sensors. They were coming fast, rising up from the shadow of a nearby asteroid. She recognized the shape of those ships immediately. Her blood went cold. "Raiders," she whispered. "The Drekari. They have come back." The communication channel crackled. A new voice joined in, harsh and mocking. "Well, well, look what followed our little trap. A human warship, way out here in the dark. The Confederacy must be getting desperate, sending their pets to do the real work." Commander Vasquez's voice was calm and cold. "This is Commander Vasquez of the UN Adamantine. You are interfering with a rescue operation. Stand down and withdraw, or we will open fire." Laughter filled the channel. 3 Drekari captains, amused by the threat. 1 destroyer against 3 raiders? "We have you outnumbered, human. Surrender your ship, and maybe we'll let some of your crew live. Put up a fight, and we'll kill every last one of you." Cathara's heart sank. The raiders were right. 3 against 1 was bad odds. And the Drekari were fierce warriors, their ships built for speed and violence. The logical thing would be for the humans to retreat, to cut their losses, to abandon her and save themselves. It was what anyone would do. But Commander Vasquez did not retreat. "All hands battle stations," she announced over the shipwide channel. Her voice carried no fear, no hesitation. "Weapons free. Target the lead raider." Cathara pressed herself against the viewport. watching in disbelief as the adamantine turned toward the enemy ships. It did not run. It did not hide. It moved forward, straight at the Drakari, like a beast that had been waiting for a fight. Foolish, one of the Drakari captains sneered. Kill them. The raiders opened fire. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked across the void, lighting up the darkness. Cathara watched the deadly rain falling toward the human ship dot, and then the adamantine fired back dot. It was like watching a thunderstorm condensed into a single moment. The human ship's weapons roared to life, launching a barrage that made the Drakari attack look like a gentle rain. Railguns punched holes through shields. Missiles twisted through space with terrible precision. Point defense systems swatted incoming fire out of the sky like insects. The lead raider lasted 7 seconds. Its shields collapsed under the assault, and then its hull broke apart in a bloom of fire and wreckage. One moment it was there. The next, it was scattered across the void in a million burning pieces. The other 2 raiders hesitated. That hesitation cost them. The adamantine pressed forward, engines burning hot as it closed the distance. It was not fighting like Cathara had ever seen ships fight. It was not keeping its distance, not trading careful shots, not waiting for an opening. It was charging. It was attacking with a fury that seemed almost personal. The second raider tried to turn and run. The adamantine's railguns tore through its engine section, leaving it spinning helplessly. A follow-up volley finished it off. The third raider did manage to run. Its captain had seen enough. He broke formation and fled at maximum speed, leaving his comrades to die while he escaped into the darkness. Commander Vasquez's voice came over the channel, cold and final. This is the UN adamantine to any Drakari vessels in the area. The Varith Expanse is no longer safe hunting ground. Spread the word. The next ship we catch will not get the chance to run. Silence answered her. The battle had lasted less than 2 minutes. Cathara sat in her pilot's chair, trembling. She had never seen anything like that. The Ilvari had no military. The Confederacy's navies were precise and careful, always mindful of acceptable losses. But the humans fought like something out of ancient legends. They fought like they were personally offended by the existence of evil. Mercy's whisper, Commander Vasquez's voice came through again, and now it was warm once more, gentle. The area is clear. We're sending a shuttle to you now. Just hold on a little longer. I saw, Cathara managed to say. I saw what you did. How? How did you do that? We had good motivation. There was a hint of a smile in the commander's voice. Someone was waiting for us. The shuttle arrived minutes later. Cathara watched it dock with her broken ship, heard the clang of metal against metal, felt the vibration of the airlock engaging. Then the door opened, and humans stepped inside. They were smaller than she expected. The stories made them sound like giants, but they were really quite ordinary in size. What struck her was their eyes. They looked at her with such concern, such genuine care, but she felt tears sliding down her face. Easy there, one of them said. He was young, with brown skin and kind eyes. A medic, judging by the equipment he carried. You're safe now. We've got you. He wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders. It was warm. So warm. She had not realized how cold she had become. My crew, she whispered. Their bodies. We'll take care of them, the medic promised. We'll bring them home with us. They'll be treated with respect. Another human, a woman with short gray hair and a gentle face, helped Cathara to her feet. Can you walk? The shuttle's just through here. Cathara nodded. Her legs were weak, but she could walk. She let them guide her through the airlock into the shuttle, away from the ship that had nearly become her grave dot as the shuttle lifted off and carried her toward the adamantine. She looked back at the Mercy's whisper one last time. Then she turned to face the humans who had saved her. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you." The young medic smiled at her. "That's what we do. Now let's get you somewhere warm. The doc on the adamantane makes a pretty good soup, and I bet you could use something to eat." Soup. He was talking about soup. She had been dying moments ago, and he was offering her soup like it was the most natural thing in the world. Cathara started to laugh. She could not help it. The absurdity of it all, the wonder of it all, overwhelmed her. She was alive. She was safe. And these strange, violent, impossibly kind creatures were going to feed her soup. "Yes," she said through her laughter and her tears. "Yes, I would like that very much." The medical bay of the adamantane was clean and bright. Cathara lay on a bed that was slightly too short for her long limbs, but the mattress was soft and the blankets were warm. After 3 days of cold and darkness, it felt like paradise. Dr. Sarah Chun moved around her with careful efficiency, checking readings on strange machines and making notes on a small tablet. "Your oxygen levels are coming back up nicely," the doctor said. "You were closer to the edge than I'd like, but you're gonna be fine. How's the soup?" Cathara looked down at the bowl in her hands. The liquid inside was golden and fragrant, with small pieces of vegetables floating in it. The humans had researched Ilvari biology to make sure the food would not harm her. They had gone to that trouble for a stranger. "It is wonderful," she said honestly. "What is it called?" "Chicken noodle. It's what we give to sick people and scared children." Dr. Chun smiled. "Also cold humans who come in from spacewalks. It's good for the soul." Soul. That was a word Cathara had heard before, but never quite understood. Humans talked about souls often, as if they were real things that could be nourished or wounded. What is a soul? She asked. Dr. Chun paused in her work. She seemed to think carefully about the question. "It's the part of you that's really you," she said finally. "Not your body. Not your thoughts, exactly. The thing underneath all that. The thing that feels joy and pain and hope. The thing that keeps going even when everything else says to stop." Cathara considered this. "My people believe in something similar. We call it the inner light. It is what makes our skin glow. Then that's your soul, shining through." The doctor's smile was gentle. "And yours is glowing pretty bright right now." It was true. Cathara's bioluminescence had returned in full. Her skin pulsed with soft blue light, responding to her emotions. Hope, gratitude, wonder. Over the next several hours, Cathara met many of the Adamantan's crew. They came to visit her one by one, curious about the alien they had rescued. A large engineer named Kowalski sat with her for a while, asking about Ilvari technology. He was fascinated by the biological components in her ship's design. When she explained how Ilvari vessels grew their own hull plating, his eyes went wide with excitement. "That's amazing," he said. "Living metal. We have to write this down." "Do you think your people would share this knowledge?" "We share everything," Cathara replied. "Knowledge is meant to be given freely. That is the Ilvari way." Kowalski laughed. "I like your people already." A young weapons officer named Rodriguez brought her a book of human poetry. He seemed almost embarrassed to offer it. "I heard that Ilvari appreciate art," he said. "This is old Earth stuff. Some of it's pretty good." Cathara accepted the book with both hands, treating it like the gift it was. "I will read every word." "Thank you." Later, she heard laughter from somewhere down the corridor. She asked Dr. Chun about it. "That's probably the off-duty crew in the mess hall," the doctor explained. "They're probably playing cards or telling stories. We just survived a fight. That tends to bring people together. They're celebrating? In their way, yes. We're alive. You're alive. That's worth celebrating." Cathara thought about the Drakari ships burning in the void. Do they not mourn the dead? The raiders who died? Dr. Chun's expression became thoughtful. The raiders chose to attack innocent people. They chose to kill your crew. They chose to come back and try to finish the job. We don't celebrate death, but we don't lose sleep over people who make those kinds of choices. It was a harsh view, but Cathara understood it. The Drakari had shown her crew no mercy. They had laughed as they left her to die. Perhaps they deserved no grief in return. That evening, Commander Vasquez came to visit. She entered the medical bay quietly, her uniform neat and her expression calm. But her eyes were tired. Command was a heavy burden, Cathara realized. This woman carried the lives of 80 people on her shoulders. How are you feeling? Vasquez asked, taking a seat beside the bed. Better. Much better. Your doctor is very skilled. She's the best. Vasquez was quiet for a moment. I wanted to check on you personally, and I wanted to apologize. Cathara tilted her head in confusion. Apologize? For what? We couldn't save your crew. If we had gotten there sooner, you could not have known. The attack happened 3 days before my message reached you. There was nothing you could have done. Cathara reached out and touched the commander's hand. It was a bold gesture among her people, reserved for close friends and family. You came when no one else would. You risked your ship and your crew for a stranger. You have nothing to apologize for. Vasquez looked at the small alien hand on hers. She did not pull away. Can I ask you something? Cathara said, Of course. Why? I understand that you heard my message. I understand that you chose to help. But I do not understand why. The Confederacy has rules about rescue operations. Cost against benefit. Lives against resources. Your government must have similar rules. Why break them for me? Vasquez leaned back in her chair. She seemed to be searching for the right words. A long time ago, she said slowly, my ancestors lived on a small island on Earth. There was a terrible storm. Ships sank. People drowned. But some of them survived because strangers in other boats came to help them. They risked their own lives to pull people out of the water. She paused, her eyes distant with memory. My grandmother told me that story when I was young. She said that we exist because strangers chose to help. Because people we never met decided that saving lives was more important than staying safe. She told me that we have a duty to do the same. To be the ones who come when others call. Cathara listened in silence. That's why I joined the Navy, Vasquez continued. Not to fight wars or patrol borders. To help. To answer the calls that everyone else ignores. To be the ship that comes out of the darkness when you've lost all hope. She smiled slightly. We call it paying it forward. Passing on the kindness that was once shown to us. Your people, Cathara said softly, are not what the stories say. What do the stories say? That you are violent, chaotic, dangerous. Vasquez laughed. We're all of those things. But we're also this. We're the people who run toward the fire instead of away from it. We're the ones who can't look away when someone is suffering. Her expression grew serious. That makes us dangerous in a different way, I suppose. Dangerous to people who prey on the weak. Cathara's skin glowed brighter. I think I am beginning to understand. Good. Vasquez stood and straightened her uniform. Get some rest. We'll reach Confederacy space tomorrow morning. There's an Elvari ship waiting to take you home. She started to leave, then paused at the door. Cathara, when you get home, tell them about us. Not the fighting. Not the weapons. Tell them about the soup and the poetry and the people who came to say hello. Tell them who we really are. I will, Cathara promised. I will tell everyone. Vasquez nodded once, and then she was gone. Cathara lay back on her pillow and stared at the ceiling. Her skin pulsed with light, steady and strong. She thought about home. She thought about her sister and her mother and the story she would tell them. She thought about a galaxy full of darkness and a strange species that refused to let the darkness win. The Ilvari medical ship Gentle Dawn arrived exactly on schedule. Cathara watched it approach through the observation deck viewport, feeling a strange mix of joy and sadness. She was going home, but she was also leaving. The crew of the Adamantine had gathered to see her off. They stood in the shuttle bay in neat rows, their uniforms pressed and their faces solemn. But she could see the warmth in their eyes, the affection. In just 2 days, these strangers had become something more. Commander Vasquez stepped forward and extended her hand in the human gesture of farewell. It was an honor. Cathara took the hand and held it. The honor was mine. I will not forget what you did for me. None of you. She looked past Vasquez at the assembled crew. Dr. Chun stood near the back, dabbing at her eyes with a cloth. Kowalski gave her a thumbs up, a gesture she had learned meant encouragement. Rodriguez clutched the poetry book she had returned to him, promising to find a copy for herself. If you ever need anything, Vasquez said, you know how to reach us. I do. Cathara smiled. And if you ever find yourself near Ilvari space, you will always have a home with my people. I will make sure of it. The boarding ramp of the Gentle Dawn extended toward the Adamantine. Cathara walked slowly toward it, turning back one last time at the threshold. Thank you, she said, for answering, for coming, for being who you are. Then she stepped aboard the Ilvari ship, and the ramp closed behind her. The journey home took 3 weeks. Cathara spent most of it in her quarters, writing. She recorded everything she could remember. The attack, the darkness, the dying, and then the voice that came through the static, promising that help was on the way. She wrote about Commander Vasquez and her grandmother's story. She wrote about Dr. Chun and the meaning of soup for the soul. She wrote about engineers who loved learning and warriors who read poetry. She wrote about a species that could not look away from suffering, even when looking away would have been easier. By the time she reached home, she had filled 100 pages. Her family was waiting for her at the spaceport. Her mother wept and held her for a long time, trembling with relief. Her sister squeezed her hand and said nothing, because some emotions were too big for words. Her sister's children climbed all over her, demanding stories and attention. In the days that followed, Cathara told her story, first to her family, then to her friends, then to the local council, then to the planetary assembly. Word spread quickly. An Ilvari healer, left to die in the most dangerous region of space, rescued by a human warship. The tale was remarkable enough on its own, but it was the details that captured people's attention. The humans had not just saved her. They had cared for her, fed her, comforted her, treated her like one of their own. Other species began to take notice. A Velkith trait. Captain told his guild about the story he had heard from an Ilvari port worker. A Thresian diplomat mentioned it in a report to her government. A Confederacy news service picked up the thread and ran a small story that grew larger as more people read it. Within months, the tale had spread across a dozen worlds, and it was not the only one. Other stories began to surface. A Morthani cargo ship, stranded by engine failure in deep space, rescued by a human patrol. A Yith colony, threatened by a rogue asteroid, saved when human ships arrived with mining lasers to break the rock apart. A refugee fleet fleeing a civil war, given food and medicine and safe passage by a human convoy that happened to be passing by. One by one, the stories added up. They painted a picture that the galaxy had not expected. The humans answered distress calls. All of them. Every time. Without hesitation. It did not matter if the victim was from a powerful species or a weak one. It did not matter if there was a treaty or trade agreement in place. It did not matter if the rescue was dangerous or expensive or logically foolish. When someone called for help, the humans came. The old powers of the galaxy did not know what to make of this. The Confederacy Council debated the meaning of human behavior. Some said it was a trick, a strategy to win allies and influence. Others argued it was a weakness, a flaw that would destroy the humans when stronger species learned to exploit their kindness. But the common people of the galaxy heard something different in the stories. They heard hope. They heard the promise that even in the darkest reaches of space, someone might answer. 6 months after her rescue, Cathara received a message. It was from Commander Vasquez. We're being assigned to a new sector, further from Ilvari space, unfortunately. But I wanted you to know that we haven't forgotten you. The crew still talks about you. They still tell your story to new recruits. There was a pause in the recording. Something is changing out here. Cathara. I can feel it. More ships are answering distress calls. Not just human ships. Others too. It's like your story reminded people what they're supposed to do. Who they're supposed to be. Another pause. Thank you for that. Sometimes it's easy to forget that one life can make a difference. You reminded us that it can. Stay safe out there. And if you ever need us, you know we'll come. Cathara played the message 3 times. Then she saved it to her personal archive, where she kept her most precious memories. Somewhere in the Verith expanse, a damaged cargo hauler drifted in the darkness. Its captain, a young Thracian on his first solo voyage, sent out a distress call with shaking hands. He did not expect anyone to answer. The expanse was a graveyard. Everyone knew that. Static filled his speakers. Then a voice, calm and confident. Cargo vessel, this is the UN Relentless. We have your signal. Hold on tight. We're on our way. The Thracian captain stared at his console in disbelief. The humans. They were really coming. Just like the story said, far away, on a peaceful world circling twin suns, Cathara stood on a balcony and watched the night sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the stars she could see, human ships were racing through the void to save strangers. They were fighting for people they had never met, dying for causes that offered no reward. She did not understand humans, not completely. She suspected that no one ever would. They were a contradiction wrapped in mystery, violent and gentle and stubborn and kind all at once. But she understood one thing about them with perfect clarity. The darkness between stars was vast and cold and full of danger. It had swallowed countless lives since before her species existed. It would swallow countless more after she was gone. But now, for the first time in galactic history, the darkness had something to fear. Because the humans were out there. And they would always answer always. Cathara smiled and watched the stars. And her skin glowed bright with hope for a future she was only beginning to imagine.